and welcome to my channel. I'm Mandi Grace, the author of 10 young adult novels, at least half of which are worth reading. On the subject of improving my writing skills, it is time for my writing craft book of the month. So, if you don't already know, because you haven't been following along in this fascinating journey, I decided at the beginning of this year that I was going to try and improve myself as an author, whether it be writing, editing, marketing, whatever. And to that end, I've been reading a book on writing craft every month. Most of them have been specifically about writing. There was one that was about marketing. I think that was the only one that wasn't specifically writing craft. But anyway, it's, the next month, so I have to read the next book. Hello? You need something? You need a snack? I, to be perfectly honest, haven't even picked which book I'm doing, so we're gonna do that. There's already a bookmark in this because I was planning on doing Edit Ready in May because I thought that I would finish writing book 2 of my fantasy series in April during Camp Nana, which definitely did not happen. So then I figured I'd have 2 completed first drafts in the fantasy series, and I could pause in the middle to edit and clean up the first 2 books before writing book 3 and 4. But that didn't happen because I am still writing book 2 and it's August. Yay. I used to be able to write books in a month or 2, and so my brain still thinks that I write books in a month or 2 because that's what I used to do. But the last few books have taken a bit longer than that, and I have yet to adjust. It's fine. We also have The Anatomy of Prose. I've heard a lot of good things about this one. I also feel like there's another book that goes with this, but I don't know. I was just in a buying book fever dream and grabbed random books on writing that day that I did this. Anyway, Writing Into the Dark, How to Write a Novel Without an Outline. And then Creating Character Arcs, the masterful author's guide to uniting story structure, plot, and character development. Now here's the deal. I've been trying to kind of pick the books that match where I'm at, which is why I was saving the editing one for when I was going to be editing, which I'm not doing yet, so maybe we're not doing this one. But do we want to do The Anatomy of Prose? I don't think we can do Writing in the Dark. We can't do Writing in the Dark because I already have an outline and I'm in the middle of the story. So we will save this maybe for book 3, or maybe not. I don't really want to write my fantasy stories without an outline. But anyway, we're just gonna hold on to you. So we have The Anatomy of Prose or Creating Character Arcs. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. We're gonna do Creating Character Arcs. In the event that I don't leave any of that in this video, August's Book of the Month choice is Creating Character Arcs, the masterful author's guide to uniting story structure, plot, and character development by K.M. Weiland. Okay. I have to get to reading. Yay. Oh, the table of contents is huge. Okay. I am halfway through this book right now. She discussed what character arcs were at the very beginning, and basically laid out what it looks like to have a positive character arc and a negative character arc, which those two basically work the same, except one you're changing for the better and the other you're changing for the worse. And then flat character arcs, and then after that she has gone step by step through what your character arc will look like at each stage in a story. So we've gone you know, basically through the outline of a story, and she's talked about each step of the way what your character should be doing or learning or whatever. We've made it all the way to the climax chapter, and then after that is the resolution chapter, and then we'll be done, halfway through the book, we'll be done with the positive change stuff, and then I think she's going to discuss briefly negative arcs and flat arcs. I don't know what's after that. I didn't really look through the table of contents because it was excessively long, but anyway, I think that's what's going to happen. So far I've enjoyed it. Nothing's been jumping out at me as like brand new information or crazy exciting stuff or whatever, but it's been good stuff, and I like the way she lays everything out. I think the biggest thing for me, really, with these books is that at the beginning of this year, when I started doing this, I already understood story, and like all the different moving parts that make up a story. And then after reading 8 more books on story, everything I already knew was even more solidified in my mind, and there's been a few things that I've added to it over the past 8 books. So at this point, even though this book feels really good and I really like it, it also just feels really redundant because she's not giving me any information that I haven't gotten from the other 8 books or I already knew. Mostly I already knew, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is actually one that I would recommend to people who don't know how to write stories or don't know where to start or things like that. A lot of the other ones, like, I already knew the information, so it wasn't necessarily great for me, but also the way that it was presented wasn't something that I was like, I can see how a clueless person could use this, you know? And I don't mean clueless in a bad way, just in any, like, you're not as knowledgeable about the subject. But with this one, yeah, it's been really good, and I like the way that it's presented and the way she goes step by step, and it's like, this is what you need to be doing at this part in the story. So yeah, I think this is one that I actually would tell people to read if they don't know what they're doing or if they have questions about character arcs or whatever. It's a good book, it really is. It's just not new information for me, which I'm no longer surprised at, to be honest. At this point, does not shock me at all. Hi, editing Mandi, hopping on really quick to explain what I was doing when I was typing on my computer, because I apparently did not explain that ever, because I just finished editing the entire video of all the clips that I made, and none of them talk about that. So what I was doing is that at the end of every single chapter, she laid out questions. So at the very beginning, we talked about the lie that your character believes, because that's where your character arc will be grounded, whether it's positive or negative. That's where it will be grounded. So yes, in the chapter about lies, she laid out what that means. And then at the end of the chapter, she had a whole bunch of questions of like figuring out what the lie is and what that means to your character. And then the next chapter, about whatever it was about, she laid out what that chapter was about, and then at the end had a whole bunch of questions for you to figure out what that meant for your character and your story specifically. So what I was doing was that I created a brand new document to go with all of my other random documents for my fantasy series, and I was answering all of those questions in relation to the second book in my fantasy story to see if the character arc was full and complete or cohesive, or, you know, if it's lacking random things that I need to add. I don't know. So anyway, that's what I was doing. Now back to the other clips. Final thoughts on the book. I liked it overall. Nothing was like insanely eye-opening or crazy and, you know, brand new information. But partially due to the fact that I already understood the story, and also partially due to the fact that this is the 8th book that I've read this year. So if I didn't know story before, I do now. But with that being said, I actually found the section on flat arcs really interesting, and I think it did change my perspective on how to write flat arcs and what the point of flat arcs actually is. So that part was really good. I was amused in the negative arc section because she uses examples throughout each arc, the positive, the negative, and the flat arc. She uses various examples from books and movies. And one of her negative arcs that she used as an example was Anakin Skywalker turning to the dark side, which was highly entertaining because she explains, you know, each point in a character arc and then would be like, here's the example and how it played out. But at the very beginning of the negative arc thing, when she was using Anakin as an example of a negative story arc, she was like, this is the most obvious one that you can see really clearly, but also the most poorly executed. Those movies were terrible. Anyway, I just thought it was really funny because I am a Star Wars fan and I've, you know, seen all of the movies and all of the cartoons and like everything. But yes, I am of the opinion that the prequels are fairly poorly written, and so I laughed a lot when she said that. But anyway, the book as a whole was really good. I highly recommend it. I think it would actually be really good for people who don't know story like the back of their hand, or who don't, I don't know, have as great a grasp on creating story arcs or like whatever. Some of the books that I've read this year, obviously I knew the information already, but I also didn't feel like it was necessarily presented in a way that someone who doesn't know the information could learn from it. But this one, even though I knew most of the information in it, except for like the flat arc section, I still feel like it would be insanely helpful for anyone who doesn't know as much as I do. I mean, I liked it, and I know all the things, and whatever. So yeah, this was a good one. Nothing was... you weren't supposed to make noise.